Okay, so I'm going to show a few videos right now showing it's literally just one change I made in a few of my builds now, but it's Circle of Resistance. Now, if you've been following me recently, you'll know that one of the things I've been harping on about that I've just learned, I don't know why I've only just learning it, is how big of a difference the resistance stat makes for tanking. Now, when I first was doing tank builds on this game, I was getting by just fine without any resistance, so I started to think it didn't make a difference. But then I would go through, I'd get on my old Techno build when he had no resistance other than the 10% off damage absorber, and I would be able to solo Eye of the Storm easily and sometimes carry people on it, but I would still die sometimes, especially trying to carry people on it from the stupid damage of the anomaly rifts. And I didn't realize, I thought there was nothing I could do. I didn't realize that resistance actually does nerf their damage a crap load. If you have a high enough stat, that is. But resistance in this game, it's one of those things where it's like your armor, your healing, your health, all that stuff protects you from the vast majority of the damage you get in this game, and resistance doesn't really protect you from hardly anything in this game, to be honest. Nothing that really does a lot of damage most of the time. But there's a few things it protects you from, and those few things it protects you from are the most damaging things in this game. Like right here, the freaking lightning storms. You see, I'm taking just nothing. Nothing. It is insane. So before on this dude with the identical build, I could go into this expedition, and half the time I could go and take 0 damage, have my shield not get breached at all, even before. But most of the time I actually would have my shield breached inevitably sometimes if I got frozen and then he was doing a lightning storm and I'd have to get my health back eventually. So I remember this and Eye of the Storm were the only 2 expeditions that this shield build trickster could sometimes, I could always get through it still, don't get me wrong. I was still a super tank, as you know from my other video just literally weeks ago on this build. It was still awesome, but I still had my shield breached sometimes. But this finally gave me a reason to get rid of one of my most useless mods that was mostly for show on this dude, which was Phantom Dash. Initially I thought, am I going to go Thunderdome? Am I just going to go for even more shield? But ultimately I'm I don't need it because I generate enough shield. I don't need it. I don't think it helped me much. But Circle of Resistance does. As you can see, I don't even think my shield even drops below halfway during the worst parts of this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Just look at my shield bar this whole time, and it is just insane how little the lightning storm and the barrages, the artillery strikes, because it affects those too. Those are anomaly attacks. So that's the thing, those barrages that hunters shoot at you. The attacks from birds, those horrendous projectiles the birds, the scythans, however you say them, will unleash on you. The lightning storms from this dude, the anomaly rifts. If you're in front line, pretty much all of Molek's attacks will do a ton of damage to you always if you don't have a lot of resistance. And his fire alone will do tons. But resistance is what protects you from that stuff. And that's the huge amount. And even some of the captains, the anomaly barrages they'll shoot at you, the flame tornadoes, all that stuff, it makes you take nothing from if you have a high enough stat. So, Circle of Resistance is an insanely good tier 3 mod, as I've learned now. And even more so because I learned that it stacks 15% going up to 45%. And 45% is a huge amount of resistance, just so you know, because it's hard. If you see a lot of my builds and other people's builds, it's really hard to even get resistance at all, honestly. So being able to get 45% is a ridiculous amount. But I realize it's perfect for this and other builds you'll see, because obviously it's very good if you have. It just, again, confirms to me why Cooldown Reduction is such an important attribute on all of my builds, because it makes it obviously easier, because the faster your skills generate, obviously the faster you can activate, Circle of Power. So you want low cooldown on your skills to just not even have to worry about it. So, and also what I learned is, I thought when it says it deteriorates every 7 seconds, I thought that meant that after 7 seconds you just lose all of the buffs and you have to stack it back up again. And honestly, it'd still be OP even if that was the case. But apparently that's not true. It really does mean it just deteriorates like one level. So after 7 seconds, if you haven't activated any skill at all, then you lose only 15%. You don't lose actually 45%, which means, and ironically, all you actually need, if you do the math, all you really need is to have a 14-second like skill activation to essentially just keep it always going up in a sense. Like it'll go down a little, yeah, in that 7 seconds, but if you activate your skill in another 7 seconds, then you get the 15% back and you reset the duration for it to go down again. I don't know if you're following me with that, with what I'm saying, but long story short is, with how it works, if you just even have 14-second activations on your skills, or right under is what I mean, right under 14 seconds, then it's constantly going up though. And it's also very good because that means that even if you get like frozen like multiple times in a row or like something like that, and you lose, and you inevitably like lose maybe one, the good news is you're not losing all of it. By the way, I'm just noticing this right now. I'm gonna emo. I'm just standing in the brood fire. Like, it's just, look at my shield. It's just like, it doesn't care. And like, this guy already had a base 40% resistance before. So that's the thing. I already was making these kind of builds, putting resistance, increasing the base resistance on them once I realized it did help. But yeah, I didn't realize how OP I realized Circle of Power would be until I reconsidered that. I always dismissed it before, and now I had to reconsider it because it's like, wait a minute, resistance makes a huge difference. And now I have to make hard choices because I have to realize, okay, I have to lose one of my mods on my builds and like figure out how am I going to stick this incredibly good tank mod on it. Because now what you kind of are learning as I've been perfecting these tank builds, just turning them into super tanks, is that the trick is, you still don't have to worry about maxing a particular thing, but it's about synergizing all of the stuff, like getting a good stats in like every defensive thing, and so they combine together, and there's a synergy where you are just taking nothing from everything and healing off everything. Like you want to get, like the first thing is, of course, is you want max health, because the more health you have, the more damage, the more hits you can take from everything at that point. So that's really always the foundation, I'd say, is you always want max health first. And then you want armor second, I'd say, because armor protects you from the vast majority of just all the basic hits in this game. But again, you don't need to max your armor, especially because it's incredibly hard to get like 85% physical damage reduction armor, because you need to get like 300 plus K armor for that. And to do that, you usually have to give up certain mods that I just think it's not worth it. If you just get up to like 75% or 80% on most of my builds, that's all you really need. So you just need to get, again, that's the point, you don't have to go absolute max on one thing, you just have to get a good stats in all of it. So then you get good armor, then you get a good leech healing that doesn't, again, depend on kills. You just have to hit stuff to get the healing, especially useful in boss fights if you don't have ads. And then finally, as I'm learning, as I'm kind of finally adding, it's resistance. And that is the end. The resistance protects you from the few hits, but the worst hits. And then you finally have the perfect tank. And yes, this dude took 0 damage, and he will always take 0 damage in every expedition now. Thanks, finally, to the final mod of Circle of Resistance. And with that, I'll see you, and I'll show you other videos of it on other builds soon.